Welcome to Ready Set Exec, the podcast where we sit down with executives across North America to unpack their business, leadership, and expertise.
And every other week, join us for Market Watch, all things hiring, real insights and no fluff. Hi, I'm here with Neil Weitzman, no-nonsense go-to-market operator and fractional CRO, who believes revenue is everything and execution is the only moat. He partners with CEOs of early-stage and mid-market companies to turn ideas into repeatable pipeline and sales-building go-to-market experiments. Founder of Weitzman Go-to-Market and Porch, a network for immigrant entrepreneurs. He's a practical fractional leader, dozens of engagements across North America, UK, and Latin America, and founder and investor, a practitioner who cares about velocity and measurable outcomes. Another great idea on LinkedIn. So, glad to have you back again. You were on our fractional event a few weeks ago here.
Yeah. Thank you, John. It's always weird hearing someone describe yourself. It always sounds so cheesy. I mean, all those things are true, but it always sounds so cheesy. But thank you for
that was ChatGPT, so it did a pretty decent job. It's funny what the internet thinks of us, right? That's what ChatGPT
yeah, for sure. I'm
saying.
scared about that. Yeah, maybe that's safer than what you think of me, though. So maybe I'll take it.
Hey, well, we're here again, right? So that's a good deal. Us baldies have to stay together, I guess. But we were talking in our last event about fractional, building your fractional business and so on. But this is more about once you're working as a fractional, what you're doing, how you're supporting on go-to-market, and how go-to-market's been changing. Because just in the last 5 years, when I've been in executive recruitment, we've tried different go-to-market strategies. You've seen cold email delivery rates drop, responding rates go down to, you've seen Google ads. I mean, it works, doesn't work. It's been a complete disaster, I would say, on the Google ads front. People are now using ChatGPT to do their searches, so it changes the dynamic of the internet a little bit. And then, of course, the rise of socials, to the point where if you're not doing social, you're kind of dead as a business. It's insane how you now have to have influencers within your company and so on, right? So how do you approach, go-to-market in 2025? As a small business, even.
Wow. Good. Big question to kick us off.
Pick something.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can answer that like in the time we have. I mean, I guess I'd say this, or we can chat about this. Like, I agree with you. It is obviously changing incredibly fast. I believe successful companies have always been the ones at the forefront and always testing and learning and changing. It just seems, many of us in the space feel like it's the last year or so has been maybe the fastest amount of change in a long time, maybe since the internet for us old people came about. So yeah, it's crazy out there. In terms of, all the things you've mentioned, yes, what we might now refer to as traditional sales and marketing approaches like cold email, as the obvious example, are incredibly difficult now. Everything can still work. It's how you do it. It's doing it with, quality over quantity. It's making sure you're really relevant and you resonate and you identify the problem properly and address the problem in your messaging. So it's not that all the bullshit around cold email's dead and all these other things. Like, it's all crap. All these things can work if you do them properly and with a ear to quality, but there's no doubt that they are significantly more difficult than they used to be. Whether it's cold email or traditional paid media, etc. And you better be thinking about new and creative ways to stand out and be different and to build your brand. And it starts with the brand, and you talk about social media. It starts with, how do you want to be known? If you haven't thought about how do you want to be known, which to me is the brand building part, then nothing else is going to work in the first place. To me, it's, how do you want to be known? How do you want people to talk about you when you're not in the room? Your product, whatever it is. If I'm not in a room, what's John going to say to the person he's talking to about Neil Weitzman? And if I want that to be a particular thing, let's pretend I'm a comedian and I want John to say, Neil's the funniest guy I've ever met. You should hire him to be a comedian. If that's what I want John to say, okay, that's fair. Now, what am I going to do about it from a marketing tactics perspective, so John will say that to somebody? How do I get that to be my message? And where do I make that happen? Is it on social? Is it LinkedIn posting? Is it content and use cases and cold emails that I'm sending out? Like, what are the tactics, i.e. marketing, that I'm doing to get John to believe what I want him to believe about me or my product? And it all starts there. If companies, in my opinion, on their go-to-market haven't thought about that, then the word sales, whether it's a cold email, a cold call, going to an event, those are 1,000 times more difficult if you haven't done that first part. And a lot of early stage companies, startups, what have you, jump right to, we've got a product and it works pretty well and we have one customer buying it. And so let's just get some people and make some cold calls and we'll be fine. And that does not work, right? You got to really put the time and effort into the brand. How do you want to be known? How do you want people to speak about you when you're not in the room? And what are the tactics, i.e. marketing, that you're doing to make that happen? And to me, that's the starting point. Maybe I'll pause there or else I'd just talk.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the brand aspect because so on the marketing side, when we are recruiting marketers for businesses, the main request always is, oh, we need leads. We need leads, right? We need pipeline. We need the waterfall. We need all that. Like that is the most demand thing is demand gen people or people that have that kind of background, tactical people as well. And the brand aspect is not talked about at all. And obviously the marketers want to focus a little bit on brand as well, but it's hard to show the ROI, attribution directly to that. And so we see that kind of push-pull between people that are like, okay, we have to also work on brand, and business owners who are like, well, we just, show me revenue. How many leads per week am I getting, and so on, right? So if they don't understand the process and what's being done, it's kind of hard to change that mindset. Because I have to say, like, that's like 80% of companies out there. That's what they're thinking about, just leads and how many quarters do I put in the machine to get me a lead? That is their...
I mean, by far and away, the number one issue every company has is I won't need more leads and need more pipeline. I mean, I'm not sure if that's ever really changed other than it's maybe more prominent now as a topic because of how hard it's been. But I mean, just look at the difference between, let's call it, known companies who get leads because of their brand and how they're known. Some of their salespeople are more order takers than salespeople. And that's because they've got a brand. And people know them and they know who they are and what they stand for. And I know, I'm not saying that's easy. That takes time and not everyone can get there and become a Gong or an Asana or think of any big, huge B2B SaaS company. It takes time to get there. But those companies, and we can think of 100 others, put a lot of time and energy and effort early on into their brand and who they are and what they stand for so that people can do that. Sales is 1 billion times easier. If I cold call someone and say, hey, it's Neil from company X, and they say, I've heard of you guys, I am now 100 times greater chance of success than, oh, you've never heard of me? Let me try to explain. It's the trust factor is freaking huge, which brings us to the whole human conversation of how incredibly important that is. Trust in the brand and trust in you as an individual is incredibly important.
Well, it's huge because we see that a lot with recruiting salespeople. If they've been in large enterprises and they get kind of complacent, they think it's always going to be that easy. Yeah. And they go to a startup or somewhere where the brand isn't as big, and they wonder why they're struggling to get the same kind of results. It's like, well, there's a reason that enterprise wasn't paying you top dollar. They realize that their brand is bringing maybe 20% of your pipeline in just by name recognition alone or something, right?
Yeah, it's a whole different world for sure. I'm very careful. I work for a lot of early stage or smaller companies, and we are very, very careful. We don't get fooled by someone that has Google or Gong or whatever on their resume. It's great to have big brand experience and you can learn a lot from that. You should be proud of that. But it is not remotely the same thing as being an AE at Gong or being an AE at a small startup who needs to, a very different sales approach, very different, or even in an industry that is a category that exists already and is a known entity. So you can think about it from category or brand perspective, or versus a category where they're trying to create the category a bit more, where it's not a known entity. Very different sales skills needed. And just because you worked at Google doesn't mean you can be successful at a small startup. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's a entirely different ballgame when you have a greenfield operations and you're the lone salesperson for a startup where they still haven't fixed, the product's got issues. There's all sorts of things in the back end where you're like, can they deliver?
Yeah.
You never worry about delivery when you're one of the big players, right?
For sure. Pros and cons to everything, for sure.
Yeah. So with sales and whatnot, how do you see that changing? Because it seems like we were discussing this earlier, but like the AI SDRs are coming out now. Are SDRs in danger? How do you view that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit of a maybe naysayer. I believe. I mean, we've seen a lot of change already, right? AI is replacing pieces of people's jobs, and in some larger companies, jobs completely. Who knows if it'll work right away or if they'll go back? It's a lot of testing and learning, it feels like, but it's inevitable. I actually do believe that, I'll throw out a number, 80, 90% of jobs in the sales space will eventually be AI. I really do. I don't know if that's in 3 years or in 15 years, who knows with how quick it's moving, but I believe it's going to be the case. And ultimately, it's because dollars wins at the end of the day. And if people can be 75% as effective at 5% the cost, they're going to do it. That's just going to do it. We're not going to have a choice. I believe there's ultimately, I mean, when you talk about AI SDRs, it's already happening. It's working, it's not working, it's different by use case. But it's only going to get better and better and better. Look how far it's come in such a short period of time. And ultimately, I think there's going to be an AI seller that emails me, that calls me, that I know the laws aren't there yet, but I believe they will be eventually, that calls me, that sells me, that gets on a Zoom meeting and I talk to an avatar that talks to me about their product. I believe I'm going to have an AI buying avatar that says, hey, AI seller avatar, meet my AI buyer avatar. You guys talk and see if there's a potential fit. And if there's a potential fit, then come back and tell me, and then maybe the humans will meet a little bit if needed. I really think that's where we're going to go. And it's scary, and I don't necessarily like it by any sense of the imagination.
Yeah.
But if I was a betting man sitting in Vegas, I'd be putting my money on that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be consolidation in the industry because there's all these startups fighting over who's got the best version of it, right? And so on. So that's going to be, I was looking at a demo actually of Piper X, where they do have the avatar that comes up and talks to you. On the video side, I don't think it's there yet. It looks a little choppy. On the audio side, it's getting pretty good actually, and that's where we're like, okay,
yeah.
For low end appointment booking and stuff like that, I can see it working. I don't know about large, doing a full pitch like that. To me is where there's nuance and whatnot. But
it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not great now, some of them. Totally fair.
Yeah.
But again, it's been whatever number of months or a year or something of this stuff out there. Imagine what it's going to look like in a year from now. Like it might not be great today, but it's going to be, you won't be able to tell the difference eventually, in my opinion. And we're just talking about the kind of outbound sales. The whole AI space in the sales world, take a different approach from it. I'm doing some work with a company called Avarra that's unbelievable. And they're really focused on the AI role-playing coaching space and real-time coaching, right? And so think about, of course, if I'm a CRO at a large company and I want to coach on deals, or if I want to onboard people, whatever my coaching use case might be, I would love to meet with every rep that comes in one-on-one for hours and go through and help them coach them and understand my thinking and make sure we're aligned on what best practices look like and any number of different use cases. But that takes a lot of time. And I got to meet for 2 hours to get what I want out and to coach them with every rep. And let's say I've got 50 reps. Can't be done easily. Well, Neil's avatar can probably do it pretty damn good in the future. And Avarra is a company that does that now. I've seen it. I've used it. I've got some use cases. It's unbelievable. And yeah, it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn close. They have a coach AI avatar named Kate. And Kate's pretty damn freaking impressive, I tell you. It's unbelievable. And so Kate pretends she can be AI Neil at scale. And now I could coach 50 reps in 1 hour all at the same time, 1-to-1. I know it's not the same thing. I'm not an idiot. I understand it's not the same thing, but there's pros and cons. That's for sure. And that's where we're going. And it's pretty amazing.
Well, it's funny because using that as a tool as the sales coach, I've had sales teams, direct reports, like up to 15 sales reps. And that you can kind of like, once you get above 10, it's hard to give them that personal one-on-one time. So I would agree with you. If you have 50, like, good luck being able to get to know them all and have that rapport that you'd think you'd have. You got to just look at the top performers, honestly, at that point, because you're like, I got to keep these people happy here with me.
Yeah.
So for everybody else, if you can identify, oh, Jimmy's got problem with closing, send him the AI to practice closing for an hour, using it as a tool as opposed to just replacing yourself completely, then yeah, I completely agree. That would be awesome. I wish I had that tool back when we're trying to coach on cold calling and there's all these people that need help.
Yeah. And that's why I use the word use case, because I think it is use case specific. I don't think anyone should have more than 7 or 8 direct reports in the first place.
Yeah.
But
well, it's not more or less, right? That's
it's not a direct reporting thing. It's like, it's use case coaching. To your point, if there's a specific use case to coach on problem X or problem Y, instead of having to book time and meet with someone, and you could go on and practice with the avatar tomorrow. And by the way, how many AEs or BDRs or SDRs really enjoy sitting down with their manager and doing role play?
Yeah.
I would say few and far between really enjoy it. I don't care how cool I think I am or how funny I am. No one wants to sit with me for an hour and do role play. And it's not, it's your manager. So there's,
they may take it as this is training. And they won't take it as, he's watching what I'm doing and he's judging me, or
something. Exactly. So if you're talking to the avatar, you can learn, you can test different things. You can screw up 1,000 times and not be judged.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And I can see the sort of the AE's point of like, it's just a bot. Who cares if I screw up? You're not taking it as as getting as nervous, maybe.
Yeah. So I believe that
whenever someone was listening to a call, like they'd have when I worked back in the day in the call centers, and someone was like listening in, like a manager would be listening in, I get so nervous. Just like the fact that someone's listening, it's like watching me go pee or something. Like
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's like, get away, like give me some privacy here. Like it's. It gets you off your game. Like you're not in the zone,
We're all human. We're all human. I mean, it doesn't matter if the boss says he's not judging you, just practice, go ahead and make mistakes. Yeah. Sure, of course. And maybe it's okay, but it's not perfect. So there is places where, AI obviously this is an understatement, can come in and improve what we're doing significantly from a scaling, from a cost, from an effectiveness perspective in particular use cases. And I think, I think AI SDRs is getting there, pros and cons, but I think AI role playing and coaching is an obvious no-brainer one. And there's a few companies out there doing that. Avarra is one that I'm, working with a little bit. I'm a fan of. I know them well, and it's pretty impressive.
That's good to hear. There's new tools as well, not just trying to replace everybody. So, that's good. Where do you see for sales teams right now? If you're building sales teams, like what's for, a company that hits like 1 million ARR and so on, what do you normally recommend for them in terms of like first hire? You hire the leader or do you hire a bunch of juniors that can just dial?
I guess good question. It kind of depends, I guess, on who if we're going from founder-led sales to a team, which of course at hopefully 1 million ARR, you've probably hopefully had that conversation already and have begun transition. I think it depends a little bit. It depends on how quickly the founder is going to transition out of being in the business and being a salesperson. It also depends on the founder's, I think, skill set. Is the founder who is being the salesperson an effective salesperson? Does it make sense to keep them involved for a little while longer? Or maybe are they more of a product or CTO type of person who did okay and made it work because they're the founder, but not really effective, and we've been losing more than we've been winning? So situation definitely, varies on who your first hire should be. So I don't think there's a perfect answer there in any way. Early stage startup, usually you just do need someone who can do, to your earlier point, wear multiple hats and do lots of things. The early stage startup, my first question is back to brand. Do you have anyone on the marketing brand side that is building content, helping empower whatever salesperson we hire is going to enable them to be more effective? Or when I hire a salesperson, am I going to say, well, we need some documentation, and then I'm going to have the salesperson spend a week building documentation because there is nothing. So you got to think a lot more when you think about your go-to-market. You can't just think if I just get a cold caller, I'm fine. You've got to think about all of it, the sales, the marketing, the brand building, and think about what is the team you're building, so that a year from now we are successful. I get that, you gotta show the value and get results in a small stage. In a small startup, you cannot go 3 months without building pipeline. So when I say long term, you do got to build properly for the long term, not just, well, if we just get a cold caller, we'll be fine. Well, no, not if you don't have any marketing or brand building. I always want to start on the brand side and then bring the marketing in. I want some inbound to be coming in before I start having someone cold call, Frank.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. You have to have an omni-channel strategy. It can't just be a one-trick pony. We've seen that before with some startups where they go all in on one strategy and it stops working. Perfect example would be like Google Ads. It's working until it doesn't. You can only put so many quarters in the machine before it's you're starting to hit the pinball machine to get it to move. So with the go-to-market strategy now, when you're talking to startups, it seems like socials are essential. Like, how would you recommend, like, for little startups and so on to be doing socials? I mean, there's I find even on LinkedIn, the algorithm has changed so much that engagement seems like a tenth of what it was. I'm not sure but like I've seen posts from me pre-January and now, and the amount of visibility and traction it gets is wild. Like the difference, and I would say the quality is not like it's different.
Yeah, I mean, so two points in there. From a LinkedIn perspective, there's a lot of talking heads out there trying to explain what's going on. I don't freaking know. I don't know anyone personally at LinkedIn. I agree with you. It's changing. They're changing their algorithm constantly. I don't know what their end goal is. Maybe it's for the best. It's just people like me might get frustrated because I want my content to do well on LinkedIn. And yes, it's not doing as well as it used to. But maybe I'll be happy with the end goal because LinkedIn is a bit of a mess. Sometimes there is a lot of shit out there that is a waste of my time to read, but I get it all the time. So, wait and see. But yes, there is frustration there from, LinkedIn influencer types who were crushing it and now aren't so much. Enough about that. Maybe I don't know enough to go deep on it, but I hear you. Social overall, however, is totally important. If we think about back to the brand conversation, it's how do I get people to know who I am, what I stand for, and how do I want to be known in those rooms I'm not in? Well, you've got to think of the channels to get that out there, to get that word, that message, that brand, that logo out there so people hopefully become familiar with it and it builds trust over time. And social is one of the channels, right? There's lots of ways we can think about newsletters and emails and events and any number, hosting dinners. There's lots of things I can do to get my brand and get myself out there, hopefully in a very human, creative way. But social is an option and definitely a scalable or cost-effective one. It just takes resource and commitment and consistency, but it doesn't take a lot of money from an organic perspective. And you mentioned LinkedIn. I think people can change their algorithms at any time and screw us, if you will. You can't rely on one, right? We can't put all our eggs in one basket. I just started doing, I should have done this 10 years ago. There's some people I know who have spent way more time on this, and that's doing social. Even though I'm a B2B guy mostly, I focused and put all my eggs in the LinkedIn basket. And I probably should have done Instagram and TikTok years ago. I'd probably be much further ahead. Some people I know did do that and they're benefiting from it. Some others I know just recently started and they're already benefiting. So I'm trying to learn and get into it. I'm 52 years old and I'm just starting my TikTok career. Yeah, but I love it and it's exciting. But in hindsight, I should have done it 10 years ago. We talk about omnichannel and multiple channels. Why did I think I should rely on LinkedIn only as my way to get my brand out there? Very naive in hindsight, of course. And now some people are paying the price of that because it doesn't work as well as it once did. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And I believe investing your time and energy and consistency into building your brand across platforms and channels is money, maybe the smartest money you've ever spent. But sadly, a lot of people still don't do that. They just we got a great product, hire an AE, make some calls, send some fucking cold emails, excuse my language, and we'll be fine. And that's not true. That was rarely ever true, and it's sure as hell not true anymore.
Yeah, so obviously we got to go where the buyers are, and everyone's on their phones, right? So it makes sense. I've seen a lot of people now talking about Reddit as the new the new platform to be on, because just everyone seems to be there. And as far from an SEO perspective, it seems to be working pretty well to be found. But TikTok, I mean, I thought that was only for like CPG products and stuff like that. You know, you're selling a new hairbrush or something, or lightsaber. I've seen those. I've gotten sucked in, you know, with the kids, you get sucked into the Instagram products all the time, right?
Sure.
But for B2B, like SaaS and stuff, or even exec search, for example, like on TikTok, like, you know, it's counterintuitive.
It is. And I think that's why people like me, and I'm the first to admit, didn't think of it, because exactly that reason. My brain went to not for me, it's consumer, it's B2C, and that's where my brain went. But I think that's changing. It is changing. And we can't forget that dad who's buying the lightsaber for his kid also works at a tech company.
Yeah.
Right. And we forget that. And I'm not saying if Neil Weitzman was doing a TikTok, I'd be like,
you're not doing the dances, are you?
No, well, you don't want to see that. I'm not.
He's doing the dance.
No, I'm not.
The viral dance.
It's short segments and shorties or whatever on like little B2B sales and tips. And it's just trying to build trust. It's trying to let people see that hopefully they see, I know my shit. Hopefully I look like an interesting guy. Maybe they want to talk to me at some point. And hopefully, most importantly, I've added some value and helped them learn something. And if I do that over time, consistently, whoever's watching it might say one day, hey, that Neil guy knows his shit. Maybe I need to hire him. Or my friend was looking for someone like that, and I remember that guy, Neil. And that's all. And I enjoy it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. So that's important. It's hard to do anything that you hate doing, obviously. So I'm finding ways to have fun with it and enjoy it and partner with people. But I'm not a guy to be giving TikTok advice in any way, shape, or form. I'm just agreeing that many of us and many brands need to be on those platforms more.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I had the same mindset as you. It was like, well, LinkedIn's for business and TikTok's for kids and influencers and dancers, you know, like, so, but it's so widespread, and the amount of hours people are on these platforms is wild, you know, like, it's, you know, it used to be like, you know, when I went to school for marketing, and this is maybe dating me a bit, but we learned about, you know, radio, TV, and there was internet, but it was just in its infancy of, you know, banner ads, you know, that was the big thing.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. I mean, radio, say I was the same. I'm the same as you, John. Radio, direct marketing, direct mail.
Yeah.
Those were like the channels we would talk about. Radio's still an interesting one. You know, I'm not an expert in it anymore. I used to work at a company that was a radio producer, but that's an interesting one. But if we talk about another traditional channel, direct mail, I believe that's a hidden hack, right? There's a lot of old style companies that have been doing it forever. I mean, I get direct mail 15 pieces a week, but none of them are B2B companies. They're real estate agents and, you know, whatever direct mail I get. But we always forget this. If I'm a B2B company and I send a piece of mail, old school snail mail to somebody, I guarantee you, John, if I sent you a letter in the mail, I guarantee you would open. If I send you an email, 5% chance you're going to open it. Maybe because we know each other, I've got a 50-50 chance. If you didn't know me, I might have a 1% chance. But if I spend 50 cents and 10 minutes and literally write you a letter, 90% chance you're going to open that. And a 50% chance if I say something remotely interesting, you're going to respond to me. And if for no other reason than to say, hey, man, I don't get a lot of mail recently. Thanks for the letter. Not interested, Neil, but I appreciate the effort.
I got a story about that. So when I was in industrial staffing, we had past customers. And so we sent them a letter. I sent 1,200 letters out, hand signed all of them, right? We got 35 customers out of that. So that was our most effective campaign we did, because the industry in construction is old school and they loved it.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Come on by for a coffee. And now it's in staffing, right? So I totally agree with, you know, be different. You know, we used to drop off boxes of Timbits to sites as well with our card.
Yeah,
You know,
I love it.
coffee,
I love it.
That kind of stuff it's just different, right? And so
it's just standing out. Yeah, it's just standing out. I mean, here, I'll tell you something that's kind of in progress. So I'm not sure when you're going to put this podcast out there, but I literally just created 20 custom bobbleheads. And you might laugh and say, that's so cheesy. And I say, yeah, kind of cheesy. But to send a friend of mine or a partner or someone I just want to say thank you to. And listen, each one's like $100. So it cost me a couple $1,000 to do this, but it was my way of saying, hey, partner, friend, something just to say thank you for your relationship. And custom bobblehead looks like you. Whoever I send it to is going to get a smile and a bit of a laugh. I don't know if they'll love it. I don't know if they're going to throw it in the garbage or put it on their mantle. I don't care. But my goal is they're going to smile. They're going to think about it. They're going to remember that, hey, that was kind of nice, Neil. Hopefully they think it was a nice gesture. Yeah. And it was my way of standing out and being a bit different. And why am I doing that? A, to say thank you for a relationship and friendship and partnership. 2, to stand out from everyone else. And 3, for them to hopefully keep me top of mind, right? Yeah. So that one day in the near future, they might say, oh, right, Neil, I saw an opportunity. Neil, the bobblehead guy, the guy who sent me a thank you gift, whatever. Like such a simple thing, costs me, it's not cheap, but I think it's worth every penny times 1,000. And if nothing else, it's a nice gesture and I enjoy doing it. And it's in progress. It's in progress as we speak. So I'm excited for people to get them, hopefully in the next couple of weeks and see their reactions anyway. So I know bobbleheads are kind of cheesy, but I couldn't think anything better. And I thought it was funny.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing is, doing something that differentiates you from the market. Yeah. And also I find giving first before you ask for something. That is huge. I think if you're in that mindset of doing that, like more things will come to you. It's sort of like a karma thing almost,
For sure. I believe deeply in that.
Yeah. No,
give great. To get, be nice, be kind. I enjoy being kind. Life's so much better when I'm, what's the old thing? Like giving a gift is better than getting a gift. It's really true. I love giving things and being nice to people, and it's awesome.
Well, and I guess that's also why people would want to work with you, right? It's like if they feel that you are aligned on values, if they feel that you're trustworthy, like those things, if people want to work with people they trust and admire and so on. So it's like, we're not doing that as a part of marketing per se. Like we're not highlighting it, but it just comes out authenticity. We talk about that a lot, right? Just 100%. Being authentic, and people will appreciate that. Not everyone will, but some will.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And, if you want to go back to hiring salespeople and interviewing, that authenticity and how you interview and how you answer people's questions, I think makes all the difference in the world. The simple example of like quotas, right? All the rhetoric out there around, you should come work here because you're going to make the following OTE. But the reality is no one at your company has ever done that because, only less than half of them hit quota. And, people are not very straightforward with that. And some of them will be honest if you ask the right questions, right? So they're like hiding the answers. I'm not saying they'll lie, but if you ask them the right questions, hopefully they'll tell you the truth. But the reality is people shouldn't have to dive in and ask the right questions to get the authenticity and the reality. What I should be saying is, John, I'd love for you to come work here. Let me tell you the true story of what's going on. And I hope you appreciate the truth here. And if you don't like it, then it's probably not a fit for you. And that's okay. But if you like this, in spite of where we're pros and cons, then this could be a good fit for you. We have the following target. We have not had anyone hit that target, but let me tell you why we think it's reasonable. Let me go through what we're doing to empower you to achieve that and get your thoughts on if you think that might be achievable based on all that. And if not, there could be some adjustment in there, but I'm going to be really open book with you and open the kimono and show you everything. And if you like what you hear, then great. That might be a good fit for us to continue forward. If it scares you or you don't like it or you have issues with it, we can talk about it. But it's also our sign that that might not be a good fit. And what's wrong with that? But yet we don't do that, right? Very few
people have trouble with being transparent. They feel like if they obfuscate or don't talk about certain things, the outcome will change. But if anything, from what I've seen from all these years of recruiting is if you're radically transparent up front, at least the person is able to make the decision to join you or not, having known all of it. And so the outcomes are usually better in terms of retention than 100%. BSing them to get them through the door and have them leave in 6 months and you're retraining someone again and rehiring and paying the fees. Like it's every time you lose someone, I mean, the cost, they say it's 230% of their salary is what you're losing in terms of
crazy.
Not getting them up to speed, right? The time it takes for a rep to become productive, like a new AE or something, it takes a while, right?
For sure. It's short-term thinking. Hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes to hire this person. I think they're great. So just say what you need to say to get them in the door here, and then we'll figure it out. And we've seen all the stuff on LinkedIn about, how many people are hitting quota, and every founder in the world lies about targets and makes it up. And obviously that's very dramatic and generalizing. But the reality is there's a lot of companies that aren't authentic and completely open book on what's going on. And I just think you're going to get way better people in the line from the beginning if you are.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think also if you break the trust, you can't just build it up again. I think for most people,
100%.
if you do that, it's done. Just in relationships as well, right? It's like you have to be straight up with what's going on. And I think they'll appreciate it that. And they may actually be stickier to your company because of the respect that they have. I think that also is underplayed a lot with people of like goodwill. You have a bank of it. And if you build up the bank pretty well, they're going to stick through a few hard times with you as well. If like, I didn't make commissions that much this year, but my boss is great. I don't want to leave my boss. Like having a good boss, I can't understate how important that is for like hiring,
Well, and think of referrals, right? Like to your point. Even if John's not a fit for my company because I was open and honest and he's not a fit, I'm willing to bet John's going to say, hey, I'm not a fit for you, Neil, but awesome. I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate how transparent you were. And I actually know someone I'm going to refer you to that might be a better fit. And John's going to say good things about me. Just because we're not a fit doesn't mean I did anything wrong, right? And so back to how do you want to be known? When you're interviewing, when you're recruiting, that's part of your freaking brand. Right. And I want to provide a very authentic, honest, trustful impression to people in my interviewing too. Because those people, guess what? That person might go be the buyer at the company they get a job at tomorrow. And now they're my prospect. Or they might be the person that refers great people to me. Or to your point, they come and work under negative or lies or misleading stuff. And then they come work and then they get disappointed because they feel like they were misled. And they're not going to refer anyone to this company. They're not going to tell their friends to come work here because Neil misled me at the beginning. And clearly they might not stick around very long, but they're sure as shit not going to refer anyone either. And so it's a lose, lose, lose.
Yeah, we often forget that if someone has a bad experience, they're going to go talk about it for sure with someone.
100%.
If they have a positive, it's not as much, but they still will.
But it might.
Money, people talk and word gets around, and we're not completely anonymous as people may think, right?
For sure.
You wonder why you're not getting calls or AEs are not coming. It's like, well, they heard through the grapevine. And I've actually had that happen a few times recruiting some staff, and they said, I know someone that works there or had worked there, and the rep isn't so great. And they changed their mind maybe about an interview because of that, right? So It's like we have to think about our brand at all times. And it's like, not everyone's, they're just completely siloed and like just objectives. All they see is what's in front of them and not like the big picture, which unfortunately is a big problem. Well, I appreciate you coming today and having a little chat. It was pretty good.
Yeah, well, I think it was pretty good too. No, thank you. I appreciate it, John. It's fun chatting with you.
And last thing though, you are coming, and I'm not sure when this is going to air, but there is an event coming up that you're a pretty interesting event. You want to tell us about the Midnight to Millions?
Oh gosh, yeah. And I can send you the link for this after if you want to put it out. Yeah, so me and a few friends are putting on something called Midnight to Millions. We say 24 hours, 24 experts, 0 excuses is our tagline. November 6th and 7th. And we have 24 incredible guest speakers, experts. We're going to go 24 hours straight. One speaker every hour. So you can register. It is free. You can tune in for all 24 hours and stay up with me if you want, or you can just tune in and out for each, the hours or the sessions that you are most interested in. You do need to register to get any content afterwards. We're super, super pumped about it. We've already got, I think, close to 2,000 registered people. It's global. Going for 24 hours. We are pumped about it. And myself and Scott Leese are the MCs or the hosts. So we'll be introducing everyone, having fun. We're going to try to stay up for the full 24 hours.
Wow.
And introduce 24 different people and have a little fun at the same time. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. We'd love to see people sign up and register and join us. It's going to be awesome fun and incredibly educational with 24 amazing speakers. And I'll send you the link.
And Red Bull, I'm sure.
A lot of
You should call
something.
them up and ask them to sponsor the event.
A lot of
We're
something.
staying up 24 hours stay with Red Bull sponsored.
For sure. Starbucks, Red Bull, drugs, people, whatever.
Yeah.
Someone sponsor us. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. I'm gonna tune in at like the 23-hour mark and see how you're holding up there. But,
Yeah.
no, that's great. I look forward to seeing that event.
Good stuff. Thank you, John.
No worries.